So guys, before we start, I just want to give a massive shout out to the team over at GearBest for sending me out the smartwatch which I've got on my wrist here. We're also giving you guys a massive promotion on both of these. It's called the summer promotion. It's on until the 10th, so you got 4 days or 3 days when the video goes up to actually go and take a look at it, because these are on some killer deals right now. So as I said, this is the Amazfit Pulse. This is a low budget smartwatch that boasts unique features and an awesome looking design. Let's just get straight into it. So you guys may recall my review of the Xiaomi Mi Band 2 all the way back in 2016. That to me was one of my favourite fitness trackers, and I've actually got another one of those right here. Since then there hasn't really been much in the development of smartwatches. I know that Apple has come out with the Apple Watch Series 2, and there's been a couple of developments, but it's all mainly been more of the same. When GearBest offered to send this out to me, I actually did a little bit of research into what this actually does. When I got into this, I found that it has some really awesome features, and it packs a really low price tag, so I was like, yeah, send it out, send it over to me, let's see what it's like. I've been using this now for the past 4.5 days, that's my phone, and in the time I've actually learned quite a lot about it. So let's start by taking a look at what you get inside the box. So opening up the very premium feeling box, first of all we get the watch itself, followed by a charging pad and a flat style micro USB cable. You also get a quick start guide, which again I didn't read. So let's start by taking a look at the design. The design of this smartwatch is honestly one of my favourite designs I've ever seen in a smartwatch. It's a little bit reminiscent of the Moto 360 Sport, but that is not a bad thing. At first glance you just get to see the eye candy of that minimalistic design Xiaomi has chosen to go with, which is both stylish and will blend into pretty much every single situation. The face itself is made of Corning Gorilla Glass, so it should be relatively scratch resistant and shatter resistant, although there are tempered glass screen protectors out on the market. Surrounding the screen is the frame, which is made of completely ceramic, which is a very interesting inclusion on such a low budget smartwatch. The use of ceramic is a much better improvement from the Xiaomi Mi Band 2, which when I reviewed it last year, we found that the screen is made of complete plastic, which is obviously not very scratch resistant. The screen itself accumulated so many scratches on the Mi Band 2 which I had, so using glass and ceramic around this makes it scratch resistant, but the downside to using ceramic is that we know it's scratch resistant, yes, but it is very brittle, so it could be subject to cracking if it's knocked up against something. I like that they have used ceramic around the screen because it does protect the edges. As we all know, the edges of watches are the things that get caught on something and would get scratched, so using ceramic means that it will just keep its awesome looks. Unfortunately, the back of the watch is made of plastic. That is unfortunately where the corners have been cut for the low price tag. But in fairness, the back of the watch is never really going to see much than the side of your wrist, so I don't necessarily see the point in using all of that ceramic just for that, especially at the price point, but it would have been a bit more premium if they did. Around the back is also where we find the heart sensor and the charging pins for the included charging pad. And speaking of the heart sensor, it can actually track your heart rate automatically throughout the day and then give you a graph of how your heart rate has varied during the day based on the activity that you've been doing. I think that is one of the coolest features about this, especially considering it actually logs it all and then sends it to your phone so you can see how your heart rate has changed when you're doing whatever activity you're doing during the day. Finally, on the design side, we have the strap, which is made of silicone. Personally, in the mail right now, I've got some metal ones coming which look a lot nicer and they're a bit more premium, and it'll just make it feel a lot nicer on my wrist. One of the biggest problems I found with this strap is the fact that the O-ring, this little bit here that holds the excess strap, as you can just see when I'm holding it up here, this bit is actually subject to a lot of wear and tear. As you can kind of see here, it's a little bit messy, it's kind of got a lot of white bits on it, and that's pretty much where the silicone that's on this bit has actually started to wear away just through general use. It's unfortunate, and unfortunately there's nothing you can do about it except peel all the layers off, which if you keep doing that, it will just become a non-existent band or it will just snap. This is one of the biggest downfalls that I found with the watch, except for the irritating button, which I'll get onto a bit later. Honestly, it really does take away from the nice looks that we did have on it. So now let's take a look at what this watch can do, specifications and all. So starting with the screen, this is a 1.34 inch panel, which is a trans-reflective LCD. If you've never heard of those, I'll get onto those a little bit later on. And the resolution of the screen is 320 by 300 pixels. The resolution isn't exactly the highest that you'll ever see on a smartwatch, but for my personal use, if I'm using it, I only ever hold it out to about this distance from my face, so honestly, I never see any pixels. If you do go closer, you can see them, but be realistic now, it's a watch, you're never gonna have it this close to your face, it's gonna be at normal arm's length. The trans-reflectiveness of the screen is actually something I've never seen before, but it's something that I wish was on more smartwatches. So the idea behind a transreflective LCD is that it conserves battery life whilst maintaining its LCD-ness. Whilst this might sound a little bit stupid in the way that I'm saying it, it's actually a pretty clever concept. So the idea is that it doesn't use its backlight when it's on during the day, and that may sound a little bit weird to you, but no, the pixels on this smartwatch are actually reflective. So rather than using an internal light to light them from behind, it's using a different light source to reflect the light off the screen and straight into your eye. This actually comes up with a pretty damn good result, especially in normal sunlight. Unfortunately, if I'm here right now, it's a little bit too dim for me, and the backlight being on adds a little bit more brightness, but the backlight isn't all that effective. Unfortunately, on camera it does come out a little bit worse than it is in real life. That's just the way that the camera works. And I kind of wish that the backlight on this watch was a little bit stronger than it is, but honestly the concept of transreflective screens means that the battery life can last so much longer, and it can maintain the standard of image that you would get if the backlight was on. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and I wish it was on more tech. Unfortunately, in poorly lit conditions like this room, as I've just said, the backlight isn't particularly strong, and the reflective light, as there isn't much from behind me right here, there's more in front of me. The reflective light means that you can't really see the screen all that clearly. It kind of makes you feel like it should be a lot brighter in this current setting, the lighting that I've got around me. As we know, the sensors are on the bottom of the screen, just in the little cutout section, and I really wish that there was a bit more backlight to it. On the specifications side, we have 512 megabytes of RAM, 4 gigabytes of onboard storage for music or custom backgrounds, and a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor. Honestly, the specs of this are super impressive considering it is a smartwatch. Remember, it's a watch that goes on your wrist, it's not a phone. It's pretty much got better specs than the iPhone 4S bar the storage. The specs itself actually give you a pretty snappy and reliable experience with little to no lag. I don't think I've ever had this watch lag on me whilst I'm using it. The UI built for this watch is actually pretty aesthetically pleasing, and it does everything you'd expect it to. If there was one thing I didn't really like with it, it would probably be the fact that the animations just take a little bit too long to load, and gives the impression that the watch is slower than it actually can be. To activate the touch screen and prevent accidental touches, all you have to do is press the button on the side. Now this button on the side really isn't as easy as it sounds saying all you have to do is press it, because it kind of disguises itself in the side of the watch. It's a little bit irritating, and it's also quite difficult to find. I wish that was fixed in some way. I wish you could like double tap the screen to unlock it and be able to use it, but unfortunately we're stuck with this button. It's not as bad as some YouTube reviews make it seem, but it's really not super convenient. Apart from changing the watch faces, which can also be done in the phone app as well as doing it on the smartwatch, everything else is pretty much controlled using the watch itself. So once you have the watch unlocked, you can enter different sport modes by swiping left. Swiping right brings up the weather, steps overview, heart rate measures, music, alarms, and the compass, stopwatch, and sleep measurements. That's quite a lot of stuff to have on there, but once you get used to the fact that there's so much stuff on the right and not so much stuff on the left, it's just kind of easy. And yes guys, just a minute ago you heard that correct, it actually has a built-in 28nm GPS inside this, which means you can actually use the compass as if you were using a phone, but instead it's on your watch. It's like one of those super fancy Rolexes. Not only that, you can also connect it to a Wi-Fi network without a phone, so there's actually a setting inside that lets you connect to your own Wi-Fi network, and then once you're in that, it'll update the weather automatically and give you those updates. It'll do all of this automatically without your phone being connected. Going back to navigating through the UI, you can swipe up to see the unread notifications and clear them. And if you swipe down, you get the quick control center and the battery life status. So not only is this a smartwatch with GPS tracking, automatic data tracking, heart rate scanner, sleep tracker, music player, Wi-Fi connectivity thing, it also gives you notification sync through your phone. So I don't know how many features they're piling on to this little tiny smartwatch, but I honestly love it. The vibration strength of the notifications is strong enough for you to be able to hear them, and the notifications themselves that you get through the watch show you enough detail to determine whether the notification itself is worth you pulling out your phone and actually doing something about it. Battery wise, we have a 280 mAh lithium cell, which goes down about 5 to 7% per day using my use. So their prediction of 11.6 days battery life in normal mode, which I pretty much always have it on, is about accurate. And now let's take a look at the tracking features. So that's step tracking, running tracking, cycling tracking, whatever you want to do, tracking. So all the data tracking really goes through the Amazfit app, which isn't a bad thing. Personally, I've never actually looked at the data on the watch. I personally just rely on the app because it's a much clearer view of everything. So on the app, you can see all of your walking times during the day, exactly when you walked and how far, how many steps you did, including fast walks, slow walks, normal walks, and just movement in general. And then you can also see your running times if you set it to do running, specific activities that you've set using the watch so the watch knows what you're doing, as well as your sleep pattern for the night before. So pretty much you get some really awesome features with this tracking, and it tracks about everything it could track considering it's just on your wrist. So if you can overcome these small issues like the strap holder and the unfortunate lack of screen visibility in low or poor condition lighting, this watch can honestly be one of the best for the low price tag that it has. This watch boasts some unique features which we don't see enough these days. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks to GearBest for sending me this watch, specifically Olivia over at GearBest. Thank you so much for this, and I hope to work with GearBest a lot more in the future to bring you guys the best tech that you can buy right now. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.